So in terms of communication, we'll start actually with your own team. For those of you who have team around you, you should start thinking about how you're communicating with your team. Your key objectives here is you are not the only one experiencing quite a lot of turmoil, experience real craziness and madness going on. So your job now as the leader is to make sure that you're helping to reassure and calm your team and give them a good sense of leadership going on, so that they're able to be more effective and more efficient in this time of turmoil, because they're going to have the same problems as you. They're going to be less efficient. They're going to be distracted by social media and news, and you want to really try and make sure that they're really on board with your plans. So calmly reassuring your team is essential at this time, and then being positively proactive in how you're dealing with them. I think one of the key things you can be doing at this time is really spending more time talking to your team. Like, actually go out of your way to have more conversations, more phone calls, more Zoom calls, whatever it is you use to talk to your team. Get those happening, so you're constantly getting a good feedback going with them, and keeping them up to date with what you're thinking and what's going on. That's really powerful.
Yeah, I think more communication rather than less at this time is the most important thing. And if you've got a virtual team like we do, then everyone's quite siloed, they're quite individual. But actually, times like this, you need to come together more than ever. So that we've been proactively trying to have more team chats, more team communications, sharing some funny stuff, because actually laughter's really good in these times. And just checking in on everyone is really important. And that's that people are looking to you as the business owner in these times for direction and clarity.
And then I guess with going on to what we're going to be talking about in a bit, which is the planning, the actions you're taking, bringing your team in that decision-making process, you're actually involving them in the plans of your business around coronavirus, is a really powerful way, not just to kind of keep them calm that something's happening, but also to get extra brain power onto this exact problem that we're having, this exact crisis issue. So bring them in, make sure you're discussing what you're doing, and see if they've got ideas that could help and different opinions on what's going on. I think it's really powerful when we're in such an intense period of what I call crisis in some ways.
And so we had a session with the team on Monday, just talking about what the risks are, the risks as we see it, and having that open discussion with the team was brilliant. And it also shares that load with others as well, because you carry the biggest, a very big weight as the leader of the business.
Great. So get your team on board. Next thing you need to start communicating with, the next people you need to start communicating with is your tenants. Anyone who is your tenant or customer, you need to get communicating with them up front. You need to start opening those channels of communication so that it can go both ways. I think the first thing you need to think about is how can I help to reassure my tenants and make them feel more calm, make them feel better about these times. One of the first things we've done is, even on a very basic level, is just sending out the standard government guidelines about what you should be doing and what your what they help people to deal with these times. We're sending those out and reaffirming them with our tenants as just a very basic start point. But that opens a channel of communication, so we can also start just giving them other doorways to start talking to us as well.
Yeah, I think it is just about that openness, and it is care as well. Like, everyone's going through a stressful time, so opening that lines of communication in terms of, for one, just reiterating what the guidelines are, which is always good to hear, but also just that care and say, look, we are here in these different times. We're going through it too, but we want to get through it in the best way that we possibly can. And the way that we've put it across to our tenants is, like, please just get in touch with us. Any concerns, any questions that you've got, just, we're not necessarily going to have the answer, but we want to be able to help. And I think just that opening up that care and that connection is a really important part of it. And actually, Terry asked a good question in this regard here. Are we okay to get tenants' details from the letting agent and call them yourself? You might have to just ask for the letting agent to give permission. Just ask the tenant.
Ask the letting agent to ask the tenant for permission. That's
exactly what I mean.
That may be necessary. I'm not completely sure on the GDPR rules around that, but it's definitely. I think whenever I've asked my letting agent for a phone number of a tenant, he's always said, "Oh, I'll just check with the tenant and make sure they're happy with that." That's all that's ever happened in the past.
And I think that tenants and landlords are going to have to communicate more in these times. So there's, I'm sure that they'll be open to finding a way to do that. And what we've Lucinda, who works with us, she's been sending out the communications to the tenants, and my dad, Chris, has been calling people to talk to them, find out how it's going with them, and so we've just been letting them know via email to expect those calls. So in a way, it's a similar kind of process, just through a letting agent than rather through our internal team.
And really, one of the big things you want to kind of get across, you want to try and get your tenants on board that they're going to be experiencing problems, you're going to be experiencing problems, the world's experiencing problems, a sense of unity that we're all in this boat together, so we've got to work together to try and come out the other side. The worst thing you can do at this time is to set up battle lines in any way, shape or form, and create any sort of conflict. You want to, wherever possible, to make it so that you're working together with the tenants, but being very clear about your position as well, so that you're not kind of just being rolled over. You're not just allowing them to roll over and tell you what they need. It's a working relationship between you. It's a dialogue.
That's really important.
So we've made it really clear we're trying our best to create a proactive approach to potential problems with our tenants. So whatever is going on in their world, we want to know ASAP so we can work with them to solve it. And obviously, the most important part of that for us in many ways as a business, not as human beings, as a business, is are there going to be any financial problems? So that's really, on a business sense, that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of in many ways, just to proactively approach that and see how it's going to affect us and what we can do to help them, and come up with plans together, what's going to be viable.
Yeah, so we're in the third C, which is communicate, and we spoke about team communication, tenant communication, or other customers if you're not in the portfolio business, and then finally communication channels with your investors and joint venture partners as well. So Dave's been having quite a lot of communications with our investors over the last few days, just talking about what we're actually doing, and there is so much that you can do as a business, and if your investors are hands-free investors like ours are, they don't see firsthand all the work that's going on behind the scenes. That's what they work with us to leverage from us. So communicating all of this work, and especially with the whole risk assessment model, looking at cash reserves, looking at what percentage of rents are at risk, having that dialogue to go through about what that's all looking like, and then what the plans are off the back of it, which we're going to come on to more in the next part. Communicate, bring them along with you, because that silence and that not knowing makes you think, shit, they're just flying by the seat of their pants, which is not what you want. So communicate and bring your investors along with you. Do the work first of all, so that you can be proactive about what you're actually doing to manage the situation, but then be upfront about the potential upsides and downsides and what you're doing to mitigate against the downsides. Just
remember that every single fear you're having in this tumultuous time, every single worry and concern you have about your business, they're going to be having those too. So every bit of work you're doing to clarify, to make sense, to make plans, they haven't done and they've got no control over. So even if you've done work to make yourself feel better, they won't be feeling better. So it's your job to proactively help them, to bring them along with you, to bring them on that journey from chaos and confusion through to calm and clarity and control.